The biggest question we get, either myself at some event or customer service, is, what do I need to build a holistic system? And let's just talk big game in this case. So they say, listen, you guys offer so much stuff, like what do I need? It becomes a little overwhelming. And what I tell people is, you need 8 pieces of clothing. 8 pieces of clothing, not 8 layers, but 8 pieces of clothing to build out a rock solid big game hunting system. Now this system will cover the vast majority of environments and times of year. So there's always some nuance, but I think if most people focus on the 8 pieces of clothing, they'll be able to put together a system that will really work for them. They'll be able to experience what a technical clothing system has to offer and really get a lot of great performance out of it.
Now, does that shock a lot of people?
It does.
The amount of clothing, because of everything SITKA offers. I mean, you know, there's tons of pieces in the lineup, in all the lineups, I should say. When they hear 8 pieces, are they shocked? Oh man, I only need 8 pieces?
Yeah, they are. And honestly, when I kind of was working through this in my head years ago, you know, I'd come from the military where we built an 8-layer clothing system that I think had something like 20 pieces of clothing. But when I really started to dissect and go back through my notes and see, you know, what was I wearing and figure out the commonalities, it just came to me that there were 8 pieces of clothing that me and my friends, and then, you know, obviously when you look at sales and all that, 8 pieces that the vast majority of people were utilizing and required to build out this system. So when you think about it and when we lay it out here, it's not very complicated.
And these 8 pieces, they have also been fine-tuned over the years and over your designing experience in them to create a system that takes 8 pieces as well.
Correct. I'll start laying it out here. We'll talk about a little nuance, but I think when we have it all laid out here on the table, I think you know, the intent is that people can look at that and say, you know, this is understandable, this is digestible, and if you have some of these pieces, then maybe you know what pieces you need to integrate, and if you're starting from scratch, then you see what you need to go from A to Z.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's start out. Where do we start?
So the first place you start out with any clothing system is you start out with the base layer. So the base layer is foundational. This is going to provide the most performance, and what the base layer is supposed to do is basically manage your moisture. In the process of managing that moisture, it's going to keep you dry, which is going to keep you warm on a cold day, and it's going to keep you cool on a hot day. So it's critical that you pick a quality base layer. So there's going to be a top and a bottom, and if for whatever reason temperature doesn't, you don't need to wear a base layer or a long base layer bottom, then you would defer to a boxer.
Okay.
So those are layers 1 and 2. Now the nuance here is you can pick synthetic or wool. That's going to be completely shooter's choice and kind of up to you and your personal preference. But a foundational base layer is going to, you know, set the stage for the performance of the rest of the system. So that's pieces 1 and 2.
And generally for you, is this how you set your stage with the, this is the core lightweight hoodie?
Core lightweight hoodie, core lightweight bottoms.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me personally, I'm a big fan of the core lightweight hoodie because of the features it provides with a hood, with a face mask, with long sleeves I can roll up or I can pull down. You know, it's got a UPF of 30, so it'll block some sun. So these are kind of my
But again,
my core
that's a
pieces.
totally personal choice too.
That's
like
totally
for me,
personal choice.
I use a merino top. It's a lightweight merino top.
Right.
But I go to merino just because I like that. For me, I like a few of the benefits over synthetics in some circumstances.
Right, and that's really, so that's great to talk about because people think, well, it's one or the other. And listen, there's sometimes I wear wool and there may be sometimes you wear synthetic. The commonality is that we start our system with a quality base layer.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's layers 1 and 2. So the next layer is going to be your hunting pants. So we'll call this your soft shell pant. So your soft shell pant, in this case, this is an Apex. You know, this pant should, again, it should manage moisture. So it should be able to dry quickly. It should be able to manage your body temperature. It should be durable enough to, you know, climb over, blow down, bust through brush, crawl across a scree field, all those different things. There's lots of different choices in a soft shell pant. You know, this Apex happens to be, you know, the quietest pant we make. It has removable knee pads. It's got some really nice technical features. You could go everywhere from a Traverse pant with no knee pads all the way to a Timberline pant with waterproof seat and knees, right? But again, what you need to decide is what soft shell pant, but make sure you have a soft shell pant.
Okay.
This is kind of the critical piece. Often we'll pick this piece with camouflage on it because this will be, you know, the thing that we move in on that animal.
Yep.
Correct.
And the Apex pant, we do have a full video on this as well. If you're interested in this pant, make sure to check that out because we dive in pretty deep on this.
We do. So that's piece number 3. Piece number 4 is what we're going to call the active insulation piece. So this is the new Ambient hoodie. So an active insulation piece is something that you would put on your body, as the name implies, when you're active. So you're moving in an environment where the temperature is such you need to put something more on your body to stay warm.
So an example of that is a very cold morning.
Exactly. So think you're leaving the tent pre-sunup to get to a glassing spot. It's going to be cold. You know you're going to be hiking. You know you need to wear enough to stay warm, but if you wear something that's just going to stop breathability, you're just going to overheat your system. You're going to start sweating, you know, too much, and you may show up at your glassing knob dehydrated, right?
Yep.
So we don't want to do that. So the most basic form of active insulation is, say, a mid or heavyweight fleece, which we offer, or you could get what I call a hybrid active insulation, like this Ambient hoodie, that's going to have a little bit better durability. It's going to be able to shed light rain and snow, but it's still going to be able to breathe very efficiently, and it's acceptably quiet for moving in for, say, close archery setups. But active insulation is a piece that folks don't often think about, that I think is critical to an 8-piece clothing system.
It's one that you need to have, but one you need to understand as well.
You do. And so it's meant for all those times when you're doing anything but sitting down, not generating a lot of body heat.
Awesome. Okay.
So the next layer, I think, is the most misunderstood in a technical clothing system, and I think it's a technology that is often either overlooked or underutilized, and that's Windstopper. So this is the mountain jacket. This is, everything here is one of my favorite pieces. The mountain jacket, as far as Windstopper, is my favorite Windstopper piece because it's lightweight, it's versatile. Again, it's very durable. It'll shed light rain and snow, but a Windstopper piece is going to breathe a lot better than, say, rain gear. So I often hear people say, you know what, I'm gonna leave this behind. I'm gonna, you know, I forget how heavy this is. Let's call it 15 ounces. I'm gonna leave this behind, and if I need to wear something to block the wind, I'm going to wear my rain gear. Now we'll talk about rain gear in the end, but to me, Windstopper provides a lot of versatility. If for some reason I'm wearing the active insulation as I'm moving up the mountain, but it's really windy that day, the thermals are sucking downhill, or I'm hiking on a ridge to get to a glassy knob and it's really windy, Windstopper is going to block that wind, which blocks convective heat loss. And just a little application of Windstopper is going to make you a lot warmer, but without a lot of added bulk, right?
Yep.
So I can move in and actually perform a stalk wearing this. You know, it's going to shed light rain and snow, like I said, so I'm not going to have to stop to take something off to put my rain gear on. So it's going to provide a lot of efficiency to my system. And it's just something that a lot of people don't consider. I don't go anywhere, no matter what time of year, without some type of Windstopper layer. That's how important I think it is. But so that's piece 5 in my 8-piece clothing system.
And speaking of a Windstopper, if you're looking at this mountain jacket, I mean, this is one of the lightest Windstopper pieces I believe SITKA offers, correct?
It is, yes.
I mean, you pick it up, it's almost nothing.
Yeah, and again, I can't remember off the top of my head the exact ounces, but it's definitely right at 1 pound, probably sub 1 pound.
Okay.
Yeah, so sub 16 ounces.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the next piece is the static insulation. So the static insulation is what people often refer to as the Puffy layer, right? Or the Puffy jacket. Now, the static insulation is different than active insulation. So as the name implies, Static insulation is when we're stationary. So think, behind the glass on the ridge, in camp in the morning or evening. Anytime you're not generating body heat and you're not active, that's when static insulation comes in, or the puffy layer comes in. This is not a layer intended to move in. This is not going to breathe nearly as good as the active insulation. This is not going to be as durable or as quiet as most people want to move in a hunting scenario, especially in archery.
But it's not meant to be active.
But it's not meant to.
Yeah.
This is something that rides, just under the top flap of my pack. When I stop, say, at a rest break to look at my map, to get behind the glass, the puffy jacket comes out, the puffy jacket goes on, and what that does is it traps that body heat radiating away from my body. It's trapped in the loft, and it's going to retain that body heat. So it's going to help dry out my layers. It's going to keep me warm. It's going to keep me focused on why I'm out there. And when I, am done with my rest break, or I found the animal, I'm going to start moving in on that stalk. The static insulation comes off. It goes back in the top of my pack, and then I go and become active again and move in to the next phase of the hunt.
So I noticed that you had first your active piece of insulation, then Windstopper, then your static insulation. Why do you put the Windstopper piece in between these two? And why wouldn't you use it on the outside of your static insulation?
Right. So we want to dress in a layering perspective, right? So I want to make sure that I'm not taking something off to put something on. So because Windstopper breathes, because I'm working it in conjunction with my active insulation, if it's windy, I'm going to need that Windstopper. It's like I said, it's going to shed light rain and snow. When I stop, I can still keep the protective layer of that Windstopper. It's not going to affect my system at all. It's actually going to keep me warmer, right? Because that body heat's not going to be able to as quickly radiate away from my body. All I need to do when I stop is throw the puffy over top of everything, to include my bino harness and whatever, and trap all that body heat. When I pull the puffy jacket back off and I go in on the stalk, say, it's still going to be windy. I still have my Windstopper on. So I don't take something off to put something on. We want to try to find as much efficiency as possible. If I'm standing around and there's light precipitation, say, so this is a Kelvin light down jacket, or you might have the Kelvin Aerolite Jacket, there's a DWR on these products that's going to shed a light rain or snow. So it's not like I have to just immediately put something on because this static layer is going to become saturated. Now there may be times where that happens, but those are normally the exceptions to the rule, not normally the rule. Certainly when we build a system, and when you buy a system, if you assemble it correctly, that it works harmoniously together, right? And really all you're trying to do is manage your body heat and manage your moisture. And that moisture could be from the inside out as you sweat, or the outside in from, say, rain or snow. I will also mention that, like I've said a few times, this is something you take on and off and just keep in the top of your pack. Everything else, for the most part, is probably on your body. Now, I don't always wear a Windstopper jacket, or I don't always wear an active insulation piece, but they are all meant to work together. And then this is, again, supposed to supplement once you stop. So you're not carrying a lot of clothing in your pack.
Most of it is on you.
Most of it is on you, right? Okay. And that's kind of the whole intent. So again, static insulation piece. This is one now where, depending on the temperature, you could have something like a Kelvin Aerolite, or you could have a Kelvin down, or you could have a Kelvin down Windstopper. So you pick the puffy jacket based on the environmental conditions. It's not like I'm carrying more than one puffy jacket. I might own more than one, but I'm picking the one static insulation piece for that particular hunt or that particular trip. So now we've got up to layers piece 6, and now pieces 7 and 8 are going to be what we call hard shell, or the rain gear. Okay. Now, I look at rain gear a little bit differently than maybe some people, or maybe I should say I speak to rain gear a little bit differently than some. So rain gear to me is similar to car insurance. You want to buy the best you can afford, and you hope to never use it, but when you do need to use it, you want to have the best possible protection you can get, right? So rain gear is something that I want to put in my pack, and I don't want to abuse, because when it's raining, when it's snowing, when it's just coming down in buckets, the only thing that's going to protect you is going to be rain gear. Nothing else in this system is actually going to be able to repel just a torrential downpour. So the rain gear is something I want to be lightweight. I want it to be obviously 100% waterproof, and I want it to sit there in the bottom of my pack, and when I need it, I want to deploy it. So that's why it's important that your soft shell pants shed light rain and snow, manage moisture, dry quickly, and are durable. That's why things like active insulation and your Windstopper are the same way: acceptably quiet, durable, shed light rain and snow, because those are going to be the most versatile pieces you have in this entire system. Those are the pieces you're going to put on and utilize. Sometimes you're going to put them on at the beginning of the trip and you'll never take them off till the end. But the rain gear is this kind of last outer protection from, just the most wettest conditions you can get. And so pieces 7 and 8 are going to sit there and hopefully never be utilized. Like, I don't know about you, but I never go out on a trip hoping to wear my rain gear the whole time. Right? But we all know that if you're at in Colorado, 12,000 feet, in August hunting mule deer, it could be warm, and at 2 o'clock an afternoon, thunderstorms roll over the top, and depending on where you are,
temperatures can dip.
You can get snow in August. You can get hammered with wind and rain. That is where you need to have rain gear. And so when I put this piece or system together, I have 8 pieces. Those 8 pieces for me, for the vast majority of applications that I'm going to encounter in North America throughout most of the year, and let's just take extreme kind of late season off the table here for a second. Outside of gloves and hats, 8 pieces of clothing are really all you need to figure out and assemble and test to get a lot of performance out of a technical clothing system.
Why would you take a Windstopper jacket and a rain jacket? Couldn't that rain jacket also cover what you're getting from a Windstopper?
Right, so the reason I don't feel that a rain jacket is acceptable replacement for a Windstopper is a couple reasons. One, the rain jacket almost always is not going to be quiet enough for those close-in hunting scenarios. So that's number one. Two, it's not going to be as durable as everybody wants it to be. So if you're climbing over a lot of blowdown, if you're crawling across scree fields to get into a shooting position, you're going to tear up the rain gear. So when you really need the rain gear, when it's not windy, but now it's windy and rainy, that rain gear is going to be abused. That rain gear is going to have cuts and scrapes on it, and it's going to leak, right? So I would rather use soft shell pant, Windstopper jacket that have all those positive attributes that is going to be with me for a long period of time, that's going to be the 90% solution, and just keep the rain gear in reserve. The rain gear, for the most part, with all 8 pieces, is going to be the most expensive layer. It's also going to be the layer that requires the most maintenance. This is a very high performance piece of kit. So it needs to be clean to function well. It needs to have a quality DWR on it, right? It's not going to be as durable because we want it to breathe. Rain gear will never breathe as good as Windstopper, just because of the way the laminates are built and the size of the holes, right? So Windstopper is going to breathe better. If I just want to commit to, say, the rain gear jacket, it's going to be noisy. It's generally not going to stretch as much. It's not going to be as durable. It's not going to breathe as well. I'm going to overheat my system. I'm going to dehydrate myself prematurely. All those things are not a benefit to me when I'm in the field. So I want to make sure that I'm picking the right tool for the right job, and I'm going to take that car insurance and treat it as such and put it down in that pack, and hopefully I never need it. But when I do, I'm going to be really glad that I've taken care of it and not abused it to get to that point.
Well, here you have it, 8 pieces to have an extremely versatile and reliable SITKA setup. We have links to each one of these products below. If you have any more questions, make sure to comment below if you have any, or give us a call. We'd be more than happy to answer anything you might have. Thanks for running through this with us, John.
Thank you.